Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is the handover of the Autocruise Pioneer Magellen. So, starting with walk around on the driver's side of the vehicle first. The first point you get to is your Cassette Loo. So you've got two keys, habitation keys. This one opens the lockers, and then you'll be able to push them in, and then to release the cassette from the holder, you've got to make sure that the blade's closed on the bottom bowl of the toilet, and you'll be able to lift the orange handle and slide out. Carry this to your waste disposal point, which is normally beside your toilet block. Take the cap off, empty, press the button to help with airflow, so it'll allow it to flow by putting air in. Once you've emptied it, there's normally a tap, so you put a bit of water in, put the cap back on, give it a rinse, tip out again. Then what you would do is, if you're using the chemical form in the liquid, 120 ml of chemical of either the green or the blue into here, and it's good to go back into the vehicle and be used. If you were using the tablets, put the cassette in completely dry, push it in till it clicks in, open the blade, flush about a pint of water down into the cassette, which will go into here, and then followed by a tablet which is in the sachet form, which can either be the green or the blue. But ask your site which one they prefer to use, because it's how they dispose of it. Some companies have different policies. Exhaust for the van, exhaust for the heater. External shower for the dogs, the bikes, if you've been on the beach. As long as you've had the hot water system on, you'll have hot water and cold, and you can get it to the right degree you want, but make sure the pump's on to get a pressurized flow through the tap. Otherwise you'll just get dribbles and it'll not work. Mains connectivity point, so to connect the vehicle to mains, you get your hooker bleed, lift the collar, expose the three ends and slide on. Hook the vehicle up first, then the point, and do it in reverse when unhooking. But when unhooking, there's a little small blue clip in the left hand corner, you push down to unhook the vehicle. At the back is where you'll find your LPG, so this is your gas bottles, and on this vehicle there is gas low. So you've got two 6 kilogram bottles here. To fill, you go to your local filling station, take the cap off, it's a bayonet fitting, get the filler which is in a gun, clip on, turn the front which will lock onto the bayonet fitting, and then pull the trigger back, and then press the filler button on the display until it stops filling. Normally something like this setup would take about 15 to 20 pounds to fill. You can see which bottle's being used, so there's a little arrow there, it's obviously showing green, which means there's gas on board. Turn it to that one. If it goes to red, it either means the bottle's turned off or you've run out of gas, but this is just the changeover valve, so you can switch between both bottles. To turn the bottles on and off, you just turn them on and off via here. It's probably best that you turn it off when you are driving, and when you arrive on site you turn it back on. But there is a crash valve regulator on this, so if you forget and you're involved in an accident, the gas will be cut off immediately. But do just get into the habit of, before you leave, unhooking the vehicle and turning the gas off. There's a cover for this, but when you would take this cover off and expose it like so, is when heating the water on gas. If you're heating it on electric, you can leave the cover on. When you're driving, you can leave the cover on, and when you're washing the vehicle, put the cover on. But when heating the water on gas, you must take it off to allow the fumes out, otherwise it won't heat the water, because it'll fail, because it's pushing the fumes back into the vehicle, which is not what it's meant to be doing. On the back of the van, you've got your reverse sensors along the back, and then your bike rack. So you just slide this down, put your bike wheels on the rails and tie the rails, put these through the spokes to tie the wheels down to the rails, and then these through the crossbars. Second bike and first bike, then what would advise is putting some sort of lock round the bikes to to stop them being stolen if you pulled over and left your bike on the back. Coming around to the passenger side, you've got your storage underneath your back bench seat. So storage in there. Underneath here is where you find your leisure battery, and you've got storage on top for your bits and pieces. Storage. External gas point. So what you'll need is there's a spigot there which clips into here. You'll need some gas hosing and a Jubilee clip to connect that to the gas hose into there, turn on and off, and connect the other end to your Cadillac external barbecue or awning heater, and that'll work off the main bottles on board, so it saves you carrying a spare. To fill the vehicle with water, it's located beside the habitation door, and this pipe comes with the vehicle, so there's a special fitting on here. So the round end goes into here and the pins go into there, like so, and then you can go at the other end of the tap. Normally when you arrive on site, there's a motorhome service pitch where you go before you park the van on your pitch, or if you're on a super site, there's water at the back of your pitch and you just connect this to the tap. I would carry some hose connections with you because most sites is just a brass tap, so you may want to be prepared just in case you need to screw one end and so on, instead of arriving on site and not being able to fill your vehicle with water. Just beside the door here you've got your switch for your step, so you can pull the step in and out. And then for added security, whoever's had the vehicle over its lifespan has put a Fiamma lock on, so you can lock this up when leaving the vehicle either on a site or in storage or parked on the drive. I wouldn't advise putting this on when you're travelling, just in case you can't get out the cab. You may have to get out the habitation door, and if this is on, it's going to restrict you doing so. So just leave it turned back when travelling in case you're in any sort of accident. In the cab, you haven't got much in the cab, but you have got a lockable glove box, but I'll go through the controls of the cab towards the end of this video. To fill with diesel, it's on the wing here, so you just push back, use the ignition key. The only time you'd use the ignition key is to drive and to fill with diesel, and you'll be able to fill with fuel. And then to pop the bonnet, located underneath the steering wheel, just above the clutch pedal, there's a little lever here that you pull to release the bonnet. And then you do have your various liquids, so you've got your engine battery where you can jump start off if you ever need it to, steering wheel, steering fluid, brake fluid, engine oil filler and dipstick here, power steering fluid, coolant, and then finally your screen wash. So underneath the back wheel on the driver's side before the gas locker is where you'll find the location of your wastewater drain off point. So normally you'd go over a motorhome service bay on the way out of your site and drop your wastewater. So this is any water you've used, such as showering water, dishes water and hand basin water. So just behind here there's a tap, pulls down, and then you can turn it to allow the water out. But as you can see, there's nothing coming out because we've already opened this and emptied the wastewater off, and then that just clips back up here when travelling. Inside the vehicle, this is your main 12-volt control panel. So if you're hooked up, you'll have mains electric, so all your 3-pin plugs will work. If you're not, you'll just have 12-volt off your leisure battery. Then you've got your master switch in the top left, which turns the vehicle on and off. This button transfers the power from the leisure battery to the engine battery, but I wouldn't advise using this because it can flatten the engine battery, as it will make the motorhome use the engine battery. You put your pump here, so if you're using the exterior shower, any taps, any toilet, you've got to have that on to pressurise the water, otherwise you'll not get any water through, but make sure you've got enough water first. Auxiliary will be your owner light, and then you can go up and down, so you've got the main control panel, AC200, your leisure battery reading, your vehicle battery reading, your fresh water, which is 75% full, waste 0, and then to turn your pump on, you put internal or external when filling, and then you'd start your tank fill. So when you connect to here, you need to turn your tank fill on to accept the water. So all you do is go through to tank fill and press external, and it'll put the water in the vehicle, and then you can put it back to internal to use. So in the washroom area, to operate your toilet, make sure the pump's on, and you'll be able to press the blue button at the back, which is your flush. Flush the toilet first to lubricate the seal on the blade, and then to open the blade, there's a grey handle here. Slide that to the right, use the toilet, flush the toilet, and then slide it back to the left to close the blade, isolate the cassette, and then you'll be able to get it out should you need to empty it and top it back up with chemical. It'll come up here with a red light when it's ready to tell you that it's full. We've got a toilet roll holder in there, shower curtain and your light switch. Window with blackout blind and fly screen. In the middle is a clip that you can press to depart the two, and then opening the window, you just press the buttons in, pull the levers down, push it out, push it all the way out to bring it back in, as it's got stairs on there which have settings. Hand basin and then shower. When you winterize the vehicle, it's very important that you leave the mixer taps open in the middle position. Remove the shower head from the hose and allow the hose to lie in the tray, just so that any water that's in there drains out through the waste, which would be open anyway. In the wardrobe, you've got your freestanding table, and then you've got your satellite point, so you just turn this on. There's a dome on the roof which will then tune in to Astra 2, and you'll be able to tune your telly in from that. Underneath, you've got your Dometic fridge. So this is a three-way fridge. So off on the top, as you can see, one down from off is gas, which you'd use if you were wild camping and you didn't have access to mains 240 volt. You've got mains, so it'll work as a household fridge. So if you're at home and you're pre-chilling, you can have it on this, or you're on a site, you'd have it on this. And then when you travel from site to site, or you're traveling from home to a site with a full fridge of shopping, you'd put it onto 12 volt. Once the engine is started, it will get a feed off the alternator, which turns the fridge into a big cool box and just keeps it at the same temperature it was when departing. So don't think that if you put on 12 volt and you haven't pre-chilled it, your shopping will be nice and fresh when you get there. It won't. You've got to pre-chill it on either electric or gas before you leave. You've got a travel catch here, so you can lock and unlock it for when you travel, and then you do have your temperature on this side. When you're winterizing and when you're not using the fridge, clean it out, give it a wipe out, make sure everything's out, and then the last thing you want to do is shut the door. So just put the catch in the locked position and just rest it on there. As you can see, you can get your hands down the seal, which will be allowing air in and out when it's not in use. In the kitchen area, you've got 3 gas rings, 1 electric here, which works off the mains 240, so you've got to be hooked up for that to work. There you go, so you've got 3 lit gas rings there. Allow them to cool before you put the cooker hood down. And then you do have a grill, like so. And underneath the grill, you've got an oven. You may want to take the oven shelf and grill pan out when travelling, and then you do have a safety catch on the oven door here for when travelling to stop it opening. Press that and you do have some storage, so your water pump's in there, and then you've got the plug for the electric hot plate should you need to isolate it. Storage drawer, some more here, and then you do have your red gas taps here, which are gas isolation taps. Any problems with gas, turn the bottle off to be safe. These are mainly for when the vehicle is annually habitation serviced. You've got your cooker hood, so extractor, lights, and the speed. Storage up here, storage in there for your cups, your bowls and your plates. As long as the hot water's on the water pump, you'll have water, and then that is hot water there. There's a switch in the cupboard at the back here which I'll explain which is for. So this switch here controls the fridge, so that's got to be on to then use the dial on the fridge, which I've already been through with you. And then behind the telly you've got the switch for the electric water heater, so make sure that there's enough water on board and you can turn that on and off. And then you've got the gas side to heat the water. If you're wild camping, you turn down to the gas symbol, make sure the gas is on, and then you've got 30 to 70 degrees so you can scroll to the temperature of water you require. In the back corner on the driver's side is where you'll find your boiler and hot water system. So this holds 10 litres of water in the water container at any one time. In the winter it's very important that you drain the water out, because if you didn't it would freeze, crack the boiler, split the pipes as the plastic, and cause a whole load of damage which isn't covered under any warranty. So what you've got to do is you've got to drain it down. So to drain it down you see this yellow tap. When it's lying down like so, it's holding 10 litres of water. Stand it up. 10 litres of water will drain directly out underneath the chassis. Leave it stood up like that throughout the time that it's stood up in the winter when it's potentially going to freeze. Leave all the taps throughout the vehicle open. Open the fresh via the tank, which I'll show you how to do so, and the waste. Drain it all down and leave it completely dry of water. When you come to reuse it, put this down, shut all the taps, put the plug back in the fresh, shut the waste, come in, fill with water, put the control panel on, put the pump on. Go to the cold side of the tap first, you'll get automatic cold water. Go to the hot side, it will cough, splutter, make all sorts of noises until you get a free flow of hot water from the hot side of the tap on one tap. You do them all and then the system would be primed once you get a free flow of water and it's pressurized. Take the beds, slide them out so they meet each other, and then you would use the backrests with the backs down into position, and there you have a double bed across widthways of the vehicle. So underneath both of these flaps you've got fresh here, so to drain your fresh water if you've taken on contaminated water, you're winterizing, or you're simply not using the vehicle for a while and you don't want it to go stagnant. There's a red plug there on a chain, you would just pull that and it'll drain the contents of the freshwater tank out underneath the chassis. Then underneath here you've got storage, and in here you have a jack and a brace and a tow knife to change your wheel. So to operate the TV, which is satellite TV, make sure that the switch is on in the wardrobe, which is this one here. Then you'll be able to turn the telly on, and then on the telly remote there's this little blue button here underneath the volume mute button, which is the S menu, satellite menu, and you would just auto scan every time you move locations, so it picks up Astra 2. Should you need to change the Astro, you'd go into satellite settings and change the satellite at the top there. But Astra 2 will work all in the UK and Europe, France, but obviously once you start getting down to Spain, Portugal, you may have to change it if you're going abroad with it. But apart from that, your TV will just work as normal. Above the telly is where you'll find your 12 volt fuses. So do carry some spare blade fuses, which are listed here what they do. And you've got your trips on mains electric, so make sure these are checked if you trip with a kettle or a hairdryer before you check your main site. And you've got your solar panel regulators and your TV aerial, so if you ever need to use it, you would just loosen the nut off here, push the stem up and use the toggle on the bottom to direct the aerial on the roof. But when travelling, always make sure the pole's pulled fully into the vehicle and the nut is fastened. But you probably rarely will use the TV aerial because you've got a satellite dome on this, which is far better than a TV aerial anyway. To heat the vehicle, this is your diesel heater, so make sure you've got a quarter of a tank of diesel or more in the main tank, as they're on different levels, and then you'll be able to turn it on and heat the vehicle. So you can only heat it the one way via the diesel heater. So you turn on here and you'll see on the little diagram it'll say on, and the fan on the end of the heater will start to whir, which means it's on. You can go up and down to adjust the temperature, so 35 being the hottest temperature by plus and minus, and then to turn it off you just press and hold. It'll say off, but the fans will still start. You'll still hear the fans because it's got to go through a cooling down cycle, otherwise it will trap the hot air within the heater and break the heater. So don't worry if you can still hear the fans for a couple of minutes longer once you've turned it off. All it's doing is cooling the heater down and shutting it off properly. So to turn on, you turn it on, up and down for the temperature, and then press and hold to turn off. And always make sure you've got a quarter of a tank of diesel or more for the heater to work, otherwise it won't work because it won't be getting a feed of diesel. So now in the cab, to the right of the driver you do have your handbrake, and then you'll notice there's one here and one here. This is the seat adjustment, so this one does the front, lifts it up or down, so it's kind of like a pivot, and then this one will do the back. You've got your wing mirror adjustments, so 2 on each side, the top and the blind spot, so you just control which mirror you want to adjust from here. Passenger and driver electric windows. Obviously to lock the doors on an evening you just push these down, and pushing this one down it'll push the passenger side one down, and then you can just go for the handle for it to come back up. To black it out on a night you'd use the curtains which come round the front of the windscreen. Wipers, indicators with your headlight switch, so you've got your side lights and your headlights there, and then off on the top. 5-speed manual gearbox with lift the collar to go into reverse, which you'll hear the beep, that's your rear sensors. And then you've got your headlight adjustment switch on here should you want to dim them by lowering them or bring them back up so that they're on the main height. Cigarette points here with storage, whether you're bringing fresh air in or you're recirculating air within the vehicle. Your fan speed, your temperature and your distribution there. Heated mirrors, hazards and rear fog lights. And then for your radio, you've got on off here, your volume. You can put a CD in, you can skip the tracks, or you can press 1 to 6 to save your favourite radio station, which is just FM. Lockable glove box with storage. And then should you want to turn this seat, you can just turn it round into the rear of the motorhome. You can't turn the driver's seat because of the bulkhead behind you, so it wouldn't be any good turning it round anyway. And then to start the vehicle, so because it's got an alarm system on, you've got the key and you've got the fob. If you go to start with the key, simply just won't start. What you've got to do is put the ignition on, press the big button, turn the ignition off, and then it'll start. And that's just a safety feature, as it's had an alarm system and an immobiliser fitted with the Sigma type AC 111 Sigma alarm.